Yeah, into 90 watts RMS into 2 channels. So I'm just, I don't know if that's going to be too much power. Again, always, feeding good power to your speakers is one of the keys to nice, tight bass, but not turning the gain all the way up either. You don't want to try to overdrive it as well. So anyway, it'll all be probably about proper gain control between the head unit and the amp itself. So the other nice thing about the amp is, besides the fact that it fits inside there, is the wiring requirements aren't that vigorous. So if you see just below, this is the fuse panel, and they have these small devices called add a circuit, which is basically a way to tap into either existing slots or empty slots with a circuit directly that plugs into there, and then the wire will run to the amp itself. So the amp has a 15 amp fuse on it, so 15 amp is plenty of there's probably plenty of capacity here in this fuse panel, so I won't have to run a power lead all the way to the battery or to a different power source. So anyway, they're kind of cool. If you haven't heard about those things, they're called add a fuse or add a circuit, and they're kind of a nice way to do a quick and easy attachment. So for that amp, because it's a small digital amp, they don't have heavy power requirements, but I'm not trying to run subs or anything like that either. What I'm trying to do is just clean up the sound. So anyway, that's kind of what we're dealing with. Again, here's the factory radio. Not much to speak about, but a lot of functionality in these things. They're touch screen, navigation, vehicle controls, all that is accessed through the touch screen, which is one of the reasons why I didn't want to abandon that. Like I said, there are adapters that you can buy to bypass or restore functionality to aftermarket head units and make them talk with that. But you start all that stuff starts adding up, and to be honest, what I'm going for is just really nice, tight, clean sound that's got some volume with it, especially in the summertime when the windows are rolled down. You need some volume to overcome the road noise and wind noise and things like that. So anyway, that's been my approach. Some people will start at the head unit. They say, hey, that's the place you got to start, and then everything works back from there. But you also have to be sensitive to the budget anyway too. So kind of my budget started off as, since I already had the sub, I didn't want to spend more than say $150. But this sub alone, if you buy it new, is probably the 150 to 175. If you had to buy a box, I'm not sure what boxes cost. I built this thing quite a few years ago, and it's really held up well. So probably not much in material this time there. I think this amp I bought for like $120 or $140. The bass corrector, I cannot remember. Maybe that was $85. It was like $85 or like $115. I don't know. And then you have various wiring and things like that. So these wiring install kits, you don't have to spend big money on those, but those are always like $20-30 for a decent amp. This one's a little bit smaller, so maybe a little bit less. And then I bought some copper grounding lugs and heat shrink and protecting the wire protection and all that sort of stuff too. So I got that in there. Then, like I said, you got the door speakers, which were around $100. This material I get at a home improvement store for $16 a roll, and I think you get 25 yards, so it's like 6 or 8 inches wide by 25 yards, so, or 25 feet, one or the other. So not too expensive there, so maybe $30 or $40 for the sound deadener. And then the amp for the Pioneer amp was about $90. I just paid for that. So if you add all that up, I'm probably in this thing maybe for about $600 or $700. So that's, I don't think that's too bad. You would easily pay that for an upgraded sound system from the factory, and if you paid $600 for that, you would get nothing that compares to to what this system is capable of producing. Now, I will say, and this is my final comment on music systems, say what you want about these things. I happen to believe that they're capable of producing all the sound frequencies that the human ear can hear, and in the proper the proper signal delivery. What it lacks is power and quality speaker components to be able to reproduce that. But what's key to sound quality in your system, and even decent volume outputs, is your music is only as good as your source. So if you're playing through Bluetooth and you're not happy with the sound quality, it's because you're playing through Bluetooth, and Bluetooth is a very poor quality signal. Erin, when she plays her music, plays direct through the it's the USB cord into the unit, and it has adequate signal processing. The one step you could do to improve that setup is you can buy these external, they're quite small, but they're small DACs that you can put onto your phone, and that will enhance the sound quality of those compressed files even more. And I think those cheap ones, start at around $80-85, and you can spend, probably $400 to $700 on a really nice one. But those DACs are really a great way to improve the sound quality from your iPhone or any sort of MP3. So if you're feeding these factory stereos with a good quality signals, these are more than capable of delivering sound quality for 99.9% of the population. So that's been my strategy here. On top of that, you have all the integrated functions and features, which is great to keep in a car like this, because you get steering wheel controls, navigation, Bluetooth, all of those sorts of things. There's even, I think, some HVAC settings and all that sort of stuff as well. And then last but not least, you have there is the door chime issue. And I think if people have hooked up amps to these factory speakers before, there's been some complaints about what do you do with loud door chimes. I think a lot of that is probably related to improper gain control on the amp, and setting up the gains initially. But I think in this one there's also a way to attenuate the door chime from the head unit as well. So I may have a part 2 or 3 to this thing to kind of report back once I finish the install this week on what my experience is on that. So anyway, I thought I would share this with you, and if you have any questions, you can post them below, and I'll try to get back with you with some of the challenges I had with this sound system. But I spent a lot of time researching, did my homework, bought decent hardware and components, and have been very, very happy with the results. Well, that's all for now.